Number one, it's me, Chris. We're the best of your life. I know that I am. Thank you for being here in the video. I'm going to talk a little bit about my business today, and just a little bit about business mindset, or if you want to start a business, entrepreneurship, stuff like that. And keep in mind, guys, where I'm going to go with this, I really want to talk more about not as much the specifics today, but more about kind of the mindset, things to look out for, things I went through. I can only speak from my experience, so this is from my perspective. So I know there's some really, really smart guys in the comments who probably are far more accomplished than I am. Like, I've done very well for my age, but that's for my age. So if you can, guys, leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what kind of industry you're in. Let me know if you agree with the lessons I'm talking about, or the mindset, or if you disagree with it. But besides that, so I want to get into this. So I got into business when I was about 16 or 17 years old. So my first job I worked was actually baling hay on the back of a tractor. Very Virginia boy. So I take pride in being a Southern gentleman. But my first job was sitting in the back with a farmer on the back of this tractor bed, baling hay, and that's pretty hard work. But I'm an athlete, so I have pretty bad ADHD as well. I love it. Those tasks, the routine, so relaxing. Baling hay, one of the best memories of my life, not gonna lie, especially with a good friend. That was my first real job. So with that, I realized that's great, but I should probably do something less physically demanding, because I have only a few years of this, or a couple decades at most, before I'm ruined. So what's something else I can do? And so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had big dreams, big ambitions. I knew I wanted to make a lot of money, which is kind of like, it doesn't sound the best, but I did know I wanted to make a lot of money. And I came from a very poor household, so the thought of that sounded amazing. So I was like, okay, what can make me money? And so I read lots of books, everything else, and I didn't have a lot of guidance, but I know my dad would say, go manage a Whataburger, which is a Texas thing. Oh, manage a Whataburger. It's like low barrier to entry, and you can save some cash and get some mobile homes and rent those out or something like that. And so, okay, well, I really don't want to manage a Whataburger. If I can help it, more power to you. If you do, Whataburger is amazing. And so coincidentally, as I was on one of my many long runs, because I'm a thinker, and I got home from a 5-mile run one day. And I remember it's about 8 o'clock at night, and my neighbor next door says, hey, can you help us move a grandfather clock? And so his wife, rich lady, she collected like antique or custom-made grandfather clocks. Like, interesting hobby, along with art. But so with that, he brought me to his living room. He said, Chris, you seem like an incredibly driven, motivated guy who needs something to put this energy and drive into. He says, how would you like to make so much money you don't know what to do with it and become a badass? And I went, please tell me more. He says, I think you would thrive in karate. I think you'd really thrive. And so my instructor, he became my instructor, what he did was he gave me my first job with him, which was I was going to manage his shed, which he had all the inventory for his karate schools in. So I was about 16 at this age. And so I would manage all the orders, all the inventory. I'd get an invoice, I'd put together an order, and package it up, and bring it to the UPS store down the street, which is like a mile away, and send it to his different karate schools in his association. And he said, so now that you're seeing how to do inventory, and he saw I did a great job with that, he said, I think you do great with your personality, how outgoing you are. I think you would do amazing working in the martial arts industry. I was like, okay, that's cool. And so basically, he took me under his wing. He had me I would train about 5 to 6 hours a day in martial arts, and learning martial arts, training for my black belt, and I'm learning the business systems. And so for the next several months, I went super hard in the paint, learning all the martial arts business systems, marketing. And so what we did for marketing, we did some pretty hardcore solicitation. We call it VIPing, which we have a clipboard, and we walk up to people and say, excuse me, sir, I'm doing a marketing survey. Can I ask you 3 quick questions? Great. Have you or anyone else in the area ever done martial arts before, and your family done martial arts before? When you think martial arts, what school in the area comes to mind? By the way, I'm Chris. I'm an instructor at blah, blah. And finally, would you be interested in trying martial arts? Which is like, again, kind of an interesting close, but besides that. And it worked, and we bring people in, we would do an intro lesson, and we would enroll them on the spot. It was really, really cool. And in fact, one day I remember my first enrollment, I believe it was, they came in, and what happened was, there was a Mexican food restaurant next to karate school. And so I was out clipboarding, which you talk to strangers, and this family walks out and do, "Hey, you want to try karate?" And they're like, "Sure." And what you doing right now? Let's do a lesson. And so I brought them in after a meal. They just had nothing going on, just a relaxing Sunday afternoon or Saturday. And they came into the lesson like, "Hey, we love this," and they enrolled their kids. Like, it was so cool. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" Like, and after I realized, like, if you have some ambition and drive and a skill set, like, you can kind of write your own paycheck if you have a work ethic. Like, how cool is that? And so I learned business. I learned to be focused on numbers. I learned to be assertive and go out. And keep in mind, like, I had kind of an interesting case to my speech and everything else. So as a teenager, I was like super, "Hey, so want to come in and try karate?" Like, but people still come in. It was just kind of endearing, right? And so what happened was my instructor, he was like, "Hey, I really want you to grow and learn and train with the best because I think you're a diamond in the rough. I think you're really going to make it." And so he sent me to different karate schools up and down the East Coast of the United States to go train, to learn, to spar. I got to train with some of the biggest names in the martial arts, like Superfoot Bill Wallace. I got to train with one of the Gracie brothers, Matt Hughes, a whole sort of other like famous martial arts I don't even remember half the names of. Like, that sounds really arrogant, but it's true. But I got to go and learn the business. But especially the martial arts, you learn quickly. Most people in the martial arts industry have no idea how to run a business, like no idea at all. And the way you run a business is you have systems. You have systems for the way you answer the phone, the way you greet people at the front door, the way you greet people, the way you say goodbye as they leave. But you control the experience, so everyone gets this amazing experience. So what the real deal is, it's really similar to. It's actually, if you're doing martial arts industry, it's actually similar to. I'm trying to think it's similar to timeshare in essence, where it's like not as pushy as timeshare, thank God, or shouldn't be as pushy as timeshare if you have class. But besides that, but it's something where it's like you are making sure they have this ridiculous, amazing experience where the customer service is absurdly good. And so they're not really paying for the karate lessons, they're paying for an experience. Does that make sense? So when I go to my local cigar lounge, the reason I go there, I'm not really paying for my cigar. Well, I am, but I'm paying a premium on my cigar. So I get this premium experience at my lounge, right? And it's really cool. So that's what I do with the karate industry. And so I ended up starting my own school, and the way we started it, because again, super low amount of money it takes to get into karate if you do it right, especially back when I started. So my instructor set me up with another guy to start a karate school inside of a hotel meeting room in Virginia, in a town in Virginia. And so at that time, I was like still learning the business. I knew the scripts, I knew the business systems, but again, guys, there's so much things business wise, taxes, payroll, how to do billing properly, how to like all this stuff, like what to do if you're sued. Like, there's so insurance. There's so many other aspects, but I just went in full force, and I would go market. I would go stand outside of the Kroger, stand outside of the Dollar Tree, stand outside the 7-Eleven. Heck, I would go to the park and make balloon animals for the kids with their parents, with the parents' consent, and invite them to come to the school. And I just went at it. And so I actually ended up living out my car for several months because my mom kicked me out of the house, but there's a lot of story with that. And then I ended up, the hotel I taught out of, I was like, "Hey, I need a place to stay. Could you give me a deal so I can sleep in the hotel?" And so I'd sleep in the hotel, and then I would teach classes, enroll people throughout the day and the evening in the hotel, and then go back to the hotel room. And honestly, I was like 18, 19. Honestly, it's one of the best memories of my entire life. Like, it was amazing. It was so much fun. Beautiful season. Wacky and wild. I ate nothing but McDonald's and Chipotle, and so unhealthy, and trained and worked out still all the time, and barely slept, of course, as you'd imagine, and which is really dumb. Don't do that, by the way. Get enough sleep. And it was so much fun. I ended up growing that school, and I went into a storefront location. I ran my business from there. And with that being said, guys, all the work I did, you got to realize. So if you own a business, you have to be somebody who's very curious. I recommend you're someone who's very curious, who loves to read, loves to learn, loves people. If you're in my industry, at least, and just wants to grow. And the thing is, if you own a business, there's a saying, I think Alex Hormozy says it, is that your business works on you more than you work on it. And it's so true because, like, what happens when you get a crazy client who's calling your phone at 3 a.m. in the morning because they thought you looked at their wife an odd way, like something really weird like that. Or like, what do you do if someone breaks their foot? Or what do you do when someone says, "I'm going to sue," when you get a cease and desist letter from a competitor down the street? Like, what do you do? Or what do you do when you get fined by the IRS for missing this in your taxes? Like, there's all these little things that add up where you just have to be learning and growing constantly, and you have to be super uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And for me, I was like panicky and freaking out for years. I did well financially, but I was a wreck for much of it. Maybe I put a good show, who knows? But the biggest thing business wise you learn is that it's really not about motivation. It's really all about discipline. And the same thing, like, if you want to be a good father, a good husband, whatever it is, so many of the times it's not really that you want to be a good father, a good husband, or anything. It's that you know that you need to do the right thing, or you need to spend your time with your wife, your kids, whatever it is, and not yourself just because it's the right thing to do. I mean, I'll still make time for yourself though, and figure out a way to do family hobbies together, which makes life amazing. But besides that, but so business wise though, it just forced me to grow so much, and that's why I have all these stories and experiences. Just because, guys, I've taught thousands and thousands of people, I've dealt with thousands and thousands of people, I've traveled the country for the past decade like crazy, and it's crazy. I'm not that old. I'm not old yet. Like I'm not old yet, which is crazy. I was talking to a friend about it who works in the cigar industry, who's also lived a crazy life as well, which is really cool, and it's just so beautiful. And if we're lucky, we'll get a 8-year period or a decade of just growth and love and just building your life, and then hopefully you'll get a few more, or 5 or 6 more, or 10 more, who knows. But if we're lucky, right? But I'll say the best thing about business though, for me, is how much I learned. But the best thing about business has been the friends I've made, the doors it's opened, the respect it's given me because people see my drive and ambition. And they say, like, if you want to attract A players into your life, be an A player. And even though I was a cowardly, lazy kid for years, and I had no ambition or drive, I thought I was worthless because I grew up in a rough household. Having a business forced me to grow, forced me to develop more than anything else. Owning a business is the best personal development program of all time because it forces you to become who you need to become to be successful. It's like what David Goggins talks about his run. You have no choice but to win, no choice but to conquer. And when you have your back against the wall all the time, you have to perform. It's amazing. Like when you get a certain tax bill or you get a bill or whatever else it is, magically you can just come up with the amount of money because you'll do whatever work it takes. And that's where owning a business has changed my life because it's forced me to become a far better person than I want to become. And because I work in the karate industry, I have to be a better example for people that I want to be. So anyway, if you're a business person, a business owner, or whatever you are, and guys, and you don't have to be a business owner, it's just what worked well for me. Um, what's your experience? Did you enjoy it? Do you have a similar experience of growth? Would you agree with me that it helped you grow? Would you agree with me as this beautiful personal development program? And also, would you do it again? For me, I would. I would. I would do things differently, but I would do it again. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share. You're the best. You're the best. I'm Chris, for the best of your life. See you around, all right? Bye-bye.